categorical and quantitative variables, and we looked at frequency tables and two-way frequency tables. So whenever we look at, so if we have just a frequency table, okay, it has one category and then the frequencies, okay? But sometimes we look at two-way frequency tables. So those have two separate categories. So like here, a category was male and female, okay? Then the other one was veggie pizza or veggie burger, okay? And so we went ahead and looked at this, and it said owners of a major food chain are planning to add vegetarian items to its menu. Customers were asked to choose one or two vegetarian items. The results are shown in the table below. What trends do the results suggest? So first it asked us, what is the frequency for males choosing a veggie burger? Okay, so we had to look at the joint frequency between male and veggie burger to find 50. That's the frequency. Total frequency for female respondents. That means all females that responded. So we got to look at the total of females that responded. That's where we got 135 from. Then it says, do male customers prefer veggie burgers or veggie pizza? So there was 50 for the veggie burgers, 40 for veggie pizzas. Which one do they prefer?
Burgers.
Veggie burger, because there is more there. Okay. Do the same thing for veggie pizzas with females. Okay. Then we have all customers, so just the total number of veggie burger and veggie pizza, okay? That leaves us with question 6, okay? So question 6 says, what conclusion could the marketing team make about male and female preferences for veggie pizza? Justify your answer, okay? What do males prefer in this example?
Burgers.
Veggie burgers. What do females prefer? Okay. So take that information and make a conclusion the marketing team could use and justify your answer. Tell me why you think that. All right, once you'll get that, we're going to go ahead and flip to the next page. Okay, so for this one, we're going to look at a random sample of spectators entering a stadium were asked whether they were cheering for the Bears or the Tigers in a championship game. The sample was categorized according to gender and team they were cheering for. Okay, so it gives us the full table. So we're going to look at each of these, okay? So what does the joint relative frequency of 65 over 230 represent in this context? Remember, joint frequency is the frequency of the joint divided by the total, okay? So that's what joint relative frequency is. So what does that represent in this question? Yep. So it would be the males cheering for Tigers out of everyone. All right, now we're going to look at B. So for B, what does the conditional relative frequency is where you take the joint, divide it by the marginal. Okay, so what does 49 over 93 represent here? Out of who? Out of just the females. Okay. So 49 out of 93 females cheer for, who was it? Then we have C. It says, what does the conditional relative frequency 72 over 137 represent in this context?
And then out of all males that are shown in figure.
So 72 out of 132 or 137 men are cheering for who? You do not have to write it exactly like that, but as long as it's getting that same gist that you're telling me it's out of just the men, it's 72 men out of just the men at the stadium, I just need to know that. All right, so we're going to do this last page, and then we're going to do an activity on Delta Map. Okay? So in a survey, customers select item A or item B. That is our first category. Okay? So it's either going to be item A or item B. And it says item A is selected by 20 males and 10 females. So that 20 males and 10 females tells me my other two categories, males and females.
What if we did it like the other way?
Like,
yeah.
as long as you, if you done A, B, male, female, that's fine. That's perfectly fine as long as you have the correct things next to the right things. Okay? For item A, how many males selected item A? Okay? How many females selected item A? So in total, how many people got item A? All right, now, for item B, okay, it says of 20 customers who select item B, there are 5 males. Where does the 20 need to go? The total part. Okay, and then how many males were there? So how many females do there has to be? 15. Okay, how many males bought something? How many females bought something? So how many people bought something? All right, we were able to finish in that table. So that is a two-way frequency table. Everything we have is our frequencies. If you want to add the word totals here, you can. It is not required to write it, but if you want to, you can. Now, we're going to take the two-way frequency table and write it as a two-way relative frequency table. So remember, whenever it says relative, what does that mean we have to do with it? We're doing it divided by whatever the total is. So we're going to set this up the exact same way. I'm going to do this so we can see all of it. There we go. So we're going to still have item B, item A. We have male, female. And when we do this, we're going to go out of the total. So it'll be 20 out of 50, which we could write that as 0.4. We usually go 2 decimal places. That's 0.40. So how would I write that as a percent? 40%. Okay. So we're going to do that with all of these. So 10 out of 50, 30 out of 50. I'm going to do 5 out of 50, 25 out of 50. We're going to do all of the things. Okay, even we're going to do 50 out of 50, which is just 1, or 100%. Okay, so I want y'all to take a second and I want you to finish filling that in. If you're doing decimals, do decimals. If you're doing percent, make sure it has a percent there, like a percent symbol at the end of it, not just 40.
Yeah, we got
All right, y'all's tables should look like this when you are done. Okay? So now, okay, we're going to calculate the conditional relative frequencies for males and females, okay, and whether they prefer atom A or atom B for the next two questions. So if you remember, conditional relative frequency is just your joint frequency divided by your marginal frequency. Okay? So a way that we can think about that is it's saying out of the people who picked A, how many of them were B? So on the board over here, let's look at this. Okay? We have a two-way frequency table, okay? So out of the boys, how many picked red? 2. Okay, so I would write that as 2 out of the, how many boys were there? 9. So it's 2 out of 9 because it's specifically asking us out of the boys, how many picked red, okay? Out of the people who picked blue, how many were girls? So how many people picked blue though? 13. Okay, it can also be asked, how many people picked red if they were girls? Or if they were boys? So how many people picked red and were boys?
2.
How many people were boys? So that is how we do that, right? So it's a combination of both. So if we look at this first question, okay, we have to calculate the conditional relative frequencies for males and females. It's reasonable to conclude that a customer who prefers atom A is more likely to be male or female, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out the conditional relative frequency for a male if they bought atom B. Okay, so how many males bought atom B?
10.
Just the frequency. So males that bought atom B. 5. How many people bought atom B? 20. So of the 20 people who bought item B, 5 of them were males, is what that's saying. Okay? Well, now we're going to do the same thing, but females. So we're still saying they're buying item B. How many females bought item B?
15.
Out of how many people? So that's how we set that up. Okay? If someone prefers atom B, are they more likely to be male or female?
Female.
Why? They are more likely to be female. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing, but instead of doing if atom B, we're going to do it with atom A. So we're going to look at males if they bought atom A. How many males bought atom A? Out of how many people bought atom A?
30.
Okay. And I think that one's decimal is 0.6.666667, right? Or 6. All right. Female, if item A. How many females bought item A? Out of how many people that bought item A? Okay, and that is 0.3333333333333. We only need 2 decimal places though. So, is it reasonable to conclude that males prefer item A more than females do?
Yes.
There we go. So, like I said yesterday, is the math for this difficult? No. It's just remembering what is what. Okay? So, what we're going to do is y'all have a delta math, okay, that goes through frequency tables. It's literally like setting up frequency tables, picking out a frequency, writing percents. Okay? So, we're going to do those. I think there is 15 questions, but like half of them are just saying what the frequency is. Okay? So, I want you to look at those and work on those for the rest of class today. Okay?